everyone. Thank you for being here. And welcome to this part of the summit about the prophecies. That actually, I'm so happy. Thank you to the Shift Network because this invitation, I'm really honored. And when I say that I'm really happy about being here, it's not only like the things that you do in any summit in which you are a speaker or you are learning something like that. Because actually, like being in this summit for me is like the end of many years of going, trying to fulfill a personal prophecy. So that then it became a Mexican prophecy, and then it ended in a world prophecy. So before starting with that, I will tell you how did I get this information. In 2005, I was well established in Mexico, talking about spirituality, healing, and shamanism, the Mexican tradition, and Indian tradition. And I had a radio show that went out 1 hour every night. And we were talking about spirituality, interviewing people, many different types of spirituality. It could be Buddhism, interviewing people, Kabbalah, and that. So, of course, I didn't see what I'm going to tell you now, but he told me the story that a very special man in my life, my teacher Hugo Nawi, he was, because he used to drive a bus, like his main job, and that he was hearing my radio show through the radio. And suddenly he said, this is the one that is going to spread. Actually, I don't think that he shouted to the people. He is the one, no? And so he decided, because through that radio show, we were organizing certain kind of workshops of spirituality. So I remember that he was in one of my workshops. They were of many different teachers, and that I remember him very clearly. Why? Because he was interrupting all the workshop. Like every time that I said something, he was like, but this. And the people started getting annoyed, like saying, okay, I came to see you and to learn certain things, and he's telling a completely other story and is interrupting and like that. So uh, that day, nothing happened. But then he came back to other workshop and he began interrupting. So now the people that remember him was really like more angry and were a little bit aggressive with him. So I remember that in the break I told him sorry because of the aggressivity of the people, but normally they came to listen for something. And he told me, but I didn't come to learn anything. I came to teach you. So uh, this first affirmation for me was like, okay, probably it's ego, not laughing at nothing, and like I have been in the path of spirituality for a lot of years. Now a lot more, but in that time already a lot of years. So I had seen in my career many different things. People that tell you, I have this message of Jesus Christ, I have this message of Saint Germain, or this and that are not exactly accurate. Not because you know the message, because you have heard it a lot of times, and that you see that it's not really honest, even if they believe it. So if someone comes and tell me I have this precious knowledge, I wait to hear the knowledge in order to give my opinion, not to the person about the importance of that knowledge, and if I haven't heard it in other way, in other parts. So, like he was very insistent that he came to teach me, and then he told me that he heard me in the radio. So I told him, okay, I'll give you 1 hour. So in that hour, we went to have lunch in that workshop. And then I said, okay, which are the teachings? Honestly, I wasn't expecting much. But suddenly he got like a paper and told me, okay, this is like the long count of the Toltecs and Aztecs. These are periods, things that I hadn't heard before. Because I had heard about the Mayan long count. I had never heard before in that lunch about that the Aztecs and the Toltecs had long counts. And then it was not completely different, but a lot different from the Mayan one. So it was new information. And then the explanation that he told me differed a lot from the other one that I had heard, and that probably many people heard about 2012. So after we finished like lunch that day, so I said, no, he really came to teach me because he didn't make this up. And it looks like very old information. And then I saw the Puritan, not of the information, but of Hugo, because he said that his teacher Esteban, the previous one, told him to spread this in order that to find vehicles for this time. And he began teaching me once a week, 2 hours, without charging anything for many years. And I still work with him, and he's a very good friend. So I said, if he's not charging and he has different information, definitely this is a pure vehicle of that. So I will tell you almost all this talk that I'm doing is about that first talk that in that year surprised me a lot. So I will start like Hugo, but for a lot of people, and I'm really honored. That's why I say to be in this summit for me is like finish the task that I was given by Hugo, that he recognized like 20 years ago that I was going to spread the information of this lineage, and that's what I'm doing today. So now I really recognize probably he saw a lot more than what I could see in that time, and it's not the only time that I have spread this information. The most important with more people. So it's okay, Hugo knew it, and it was incredible by hearing a voice in a radio show to recognize it. Okay, so in that first talk, we saw like he didn't have it there, like an image of the Aztec calendar. So, but I had seen it. So, and he told me that the outer ring of the Aztec calendar, that is the very famous one that has like the sun with a tongue, that is not a tongue, it's a flint. But I'm telling you that because a lot of people, when you tell them about Aztec calendar, they think about this image, but they think that it's the Mayan calendar. So it's a misunderstanding. The one with the sun in the center, with the thing that looks like a tongue, is not the Mayan one, it's the Aztec one. So because some of the details that I will tell you are related to this, and if you don't have the correct image, so you will say, okay, where is this in the Mayan calendar, for example, or other calendars? So he told me that the outer ring of that calendar, that is quite famous, was the long count. And the long count was a cycle that consisted in the calendar of two serpents that are surrounding, that have that they have actually like two. They finish in two human faces that have like feathers here. That, and every time that you have in the Mexican culture a serpent with a face, it represents Quetzalcoatl, the precious knowledge, the beautiful flowering of the being, knowledge, and that. So And he told me that that count represented 26,500 years. That is what was named in Egypt precession of equinoxes. Then he explained me like the Nahua cultures. Nahuatl is a language, but it's a long lineage of knowledge that represent Teotihuacans, Toltecs, people from Cacaxtla, Aztecs. So finally, thousands of years of knowledge that were recapitulated by these cultures. That the Nahua cultures had this principle that everything, the main number in the universe was the number 4. Why? Because you always needed for example, 4 moments of the day, 4 elements, 4 phases of the moon, for many things in order to complete a cycle. And that way of measuring time went also to the long counts of the calendar. So um, this long count was split by the ancient one also in 4, and that they named those periods suns that are very very long periods of time. Actually, they last not exactly because sometimes they are mixing, but more or less you will get the idea. 6,610 years at least that could extend to 25 years. And for example, then he told me the oral tradition about the 5 previous suns that we were finishing the 5th sun to enter in the 6th. So, so I understood a lot of how history has been modified, for example, that we are only recognizing the history that comes from the Western culture, and the other ones have been erased. Everyone notices that and thinks that the history that starts in Sumeria, Mesopotamia, is the only one that is true, ignoring the one of the Eastern cultures in India and China, and the one of America completely erased, because no one is taking care of that one, and no one knows it, very, very few people, and of course, it has very, very important information, because if we go to the traditional story, we're only talking about one sun. From Sumeria to now, it's one sun. So the other ones have been erased. So at least we have been losing 27,000 years of history, of our myths or whatever, but it's a lot of years to be missed. So then he told me that the different suns were like metaphorically compared with periods of time in the day, like for example, some suns represented from midnight to the dawn, others from the dawn to the midday. From midday, the others will be from midday to the sunset, and the other sunsets to the night. And that will be like metaphorically represented in 6,600 years. So the suns are long. And in that first lesson, I learned that the 5th sun that we were finishing was a sun that represented from the sunset to midnight. So we started 6,000 years ago with like a sunset, and now we were entering in the midnight. And this is from which more of the basic uses of this information come. If a sun starts in the day, so it's a sun that is representing more the tonal or the waking state. If it starts in the night, like the one that is starting, so it represents the Nawal, the unconsciousness, the dreaming body that is your inside, the night. Uh, the suns of the tonal, it doesn't represent that they are good because they go with the waking state and because they go with the light. The ancient ones didn't have these concepts. A sun of darkness, it doesn't mean that it's bad, like the one that is starting. It represents when you are sleeping, you're inside, your unconsciousness, the things that we don't see normally. So it's just a different perspective. So in the suns of the sun, like the previous one, normally when we're awake, if you are not doing a siesta, you are looking outside. So our perceptions comes from outside. So God normally it's outside. So these sons are very good for religions. Satisfaction is outside. Medicine is outside. That's why we need to have relationships in which people make you happy. We need to conquer even the space or other parts of the world because we need things from outside to fulfill something that should be inside. And that's the perfect example of everything we know from Sumeria to these times. People looking outside, conquering others, religions, three major religions that are looking more outside than ever, and something like that. So, and he told me many years ago that the transition to the sixth sun, like we are forced by the cosmos and there wasn't other option, the sons of the Nawal in which you enter in the night, you close your eyes and you enter inside. First, because you haven't fallen asleep, you will see your thoughts and that is the best reflection of your unconsciousness. And after that, it will be a sun of dreams, in which you will know that the dreams create your reality. That, for example, in the fifth sun, we were entering with the sun. So it's a sun with a tendency to the masculine. The main forces with the six are the night, that is a feminine force, the moon, completely feminine, and the dreams, that is not exactly feminine, but that have a masculine and a feminine part. And a male force will be ruling like again, it will exist in these years, but ruling like in 5,500 years. That will be when the sun comes from the dawn. So actually we will have 5,500 years of the return of the feminine. And no one can do anything. It's the cosmos, not us. And that's why we're living so many things now. Because the feminine forces are coming back. And the order that represented the others is stepping back. Not wanting, fighting like that to survive, but it's the cosmos. Like the feminine forces disappeared thousands of years ago, not disappeared, but they were like rejected, and they couldn't defend themselves because it was in the cosmos. And but nothing had happened in that time when I received all this information. Probably, actually, I thought, is it? Maybe. It sounds quite interesting. It sounds logic. Now I'm totally sure because everything that he told me happened. And he told me that the transition from the fifth to the sixth started in 1991 with an eclipse in Mexico City. And that the first 20 years of the transition were going to be a dramatic change, but a change that came from the outside. Our world was going to change before us. And he explained me that there were going to be many modifications. Actually, everything happened. And that in 2012, the famous date, it was going to be a parallel influence of the fifth and the sixth sun. And if you saw what happened in 2012, that actually one of the things that have changed humankind more than ever, the iPhone and and the internet phones. And then the world was never the same. People were in the transition to look outside to look inside. But before looking inside, everyone started looking into the middle point, in the middle. So, and if you see, it's true. No one thinks about that. In the transition to going outside, we got, like humankind, a middle point. And the systems of religions, politics, everything from the previous zone are shaking completely, and they are trying to defend it. Well, that's why we're getting all this mess. But that is necessary. So now when people ask me, who do you think that created this virus or this problem? I said, who cares? It was put in the stars like many thousands years ago. So eventually, when the time arrives, someone was going to do it because it was created. Not in the stars, but it was like a thing that was going prophesized. So Someone just did their task. And actually, he told me something very, very special. That from 2012 to 2021, that was going to end the transition, were going to be really complicated because the humankind was going to transit through the underworlds. And the underworlds are repetitive, destructive patterns like nationalism, like many things that we are doing, addiction to suffering. So the level of using pills for depression, for anxiety has grown like never. Uh, then other of the underworlds represent that we were going to discover that we were programmed much more by ancestors than by past lives. Why? Because if you believe in past lives or not, it doesn't matter. But if you believe in them, you were born in a certain family because of your past lives. That actually, so it was better to deal with the families, not with past lives that are very abstract. So, and now epigenetic, this new science that is proving that the effect at least of 7 generations of ancestors is reflected in your life. Finally, heavy emotions have been coming out completely. The destructive power of words that is all around the world through media, through social media, destroying. And but what he told me many years ago, not exactly in the first class, but like in the third, it was going that in 2020 and 2021, we were going to cross through the last underworld that is called the one of the complete darkness. And it was going to bring uncertainty and the coming back of the feminine forces was going to manifest in the feminine forces expressing. And that one of the first ones was going to be the earth. And that in the way that she expresses is creating infections and, um, and lack of abundance. So actually, and no one can say that I'm making this up now because it's very convenient. Because I published a book that it was the only one that was giving different dates, like 11 years ago. That book is called The Dawn of the Sixth Sun, with this information saying that finally the date of transition was going to be in an moon eclipse in May of 2021, but that 2020 was going to be terrible, and 2021 a little bit more. Uh, that's what it says. So, after everything came to life, many people is like asking me to share this information that actually proof is not about me. It's not in my prophecies from my teacher Hugo. I just wrote it and made research about that, but it proved to be completely true. So that's why Hugo told me, you are going to share the information of my lineage for this transition. And actually, it's happening now, so I believe it's more because I'm doing this talk for a very big, big event so that people get awareness and addresses that it wasn't only 2012, that was a count without an adjustment, and that actually other cultures even predicted what was going to happen year by year, and the transition will end in 2026. And actually, my new book that is coming out with Hay House will be covering everything: what happened, what is happening, and what is supposed to happen, and how will be even characteristics of these six suns and the seventh continent. So, but I cannot teach everything here about all the suns and complete because it was just not just, but a very important, I think, talk, but with the purpose of a healing. So, like I told you, the Mother Earth is the first feminine force with which we have to reconcile. And this is not like the cheesy archetype thing of let's heal the earth. It's about healing your own earth because a culture that saw these problems said thousands of years ago that we were going to have in the exact years problems with the earth through infections and lack of abundance. So probably they knew more than us. Actually, they knew a lot more than us. And I'm convinced because someone in 15, 16 years ago that couldn't have any idea that what was going to happen told me. Even the years and that, and he exists, even you can contact him. He doesn't speak English, but so he knew. And actually, in that time, I just wrote it because it sounded very beautiful and interesting. And he told me, "You're going to start this sharing in Italy," and it was published in Italy, and it's in 3 languages. But everything happened. So that culture had certain techniques. We will see just one. That is called Tlazolteotl Tlazocteotl. Don't worry if you didn't understand anything. That's Nahuatl, the ancient, uh, the ancient language of Teotihuacan's Aztecs, Toltecs before. So, boom. And Tlazolteotl is like one of the names to call the earth. That is the part of the earth that takes what is old, what is actually Tlazoli, that is the first word, Tlazolteotl, because it would be actually translated like the energy of the trash of, or the old, is the part of the earth that recycles and takes everything that you don't need anymore. And then there is other word, that is the other main name of the earth, that is Tlazocteotl. They look very similar. They just change by an L from an H. But Tlazoctla is not trash, it's the precious essence. So it would be the part of the earth that gives you the precious essence and gives life to everything that exists. So the part of the earth that takes what you don't need, the part of the earth that gives life to what you need. And so we will contact with those parts of the earth to give what we don't need anymore, like could be ancestral patterns, infections, your problems in your finances, the anxiety for the new times, and everything that you would like to get rid of. And then we will get from the other part of the earth, the energy of the new sun to begin changing our vibration to Tlazochtla, to the precious essence, to welcome these new times and to do the best for us. So, okay, I will share that, and after I finish, a big hug to everyone. And just to end my talk, uh, actually, the last ruler of the Aztecs, in a speech that gave in front of the population before Guille surrendered to the Spaniards, said, "Hide our treasure. Pass it from father to son, from mother to daughters, and from master to student, because with the sixth son is going to come back." And now, exactly when the sixth son is coming, a lot of lineages are opening and are sharing, because it was the last rule and command from the last ruler, that for the ancient ones was very sacred. And it was kept in silence for 500 years, because some people said, why not everyone knows that prophecy? Because it was a command of the ruler to, to hide it, not to be destroyed. So the people that had been transmitting for 500 years, that kept it like shh, so that it wouldn't be changed and manipulated by the first the Spaniards, then the Mexican Spaniards, and then the world, in order to keep it safe. So that's why it's not only me that I have it, but it's what there are many groups, small groups like Hugo and his teachers that pass it, doing something that very sacred, that no one gossip, so that people have other information. So I see the not because I got that information, that is pure. If they if they 500 years and they begin just a little bit before to tell it, it's and they are honoring their last ruler in a lineage. And I'm honoring it, him, Cuauhtemoc, to do this. Okay, how you're going to contact with La Solteotl. La Solteotl, the part of the earth that gets rid of what you don't need anymore. You just place your right leg just a little bit in the front from the left, and in the feminine sculptures of the ancient Mexico, if you're placing this leg in the front, you are in contact with Tlazolteotl. If you're placing this one in the other way, you are in contact with la sorteotl, the precious essence. Then what you are doing with these forces depend in where do you put your fist. So, for example, here, there will be the coccyx. We will place it in order to get rid of ancestral patterns from the previous sons and all these things. Here, for example, because the main problem now is lack of abundance, to get lack of abundance and this disconnection from the earth. This to get all the wounds of your failures, lack of power, everything that you lost in this pandemic state, and that. And finally here to get rid of what is old in order to get clear before entering to the energy of the new sun. Then we will come here to Tlazocteotl and we will put the best energy to become this prophecy of the return of the Quetzalcoatl, that is Quetzalcoatl in plural, with the sixth sun. Here, abundance with the earth. Here, the power, even an immune system that could resist everything. And here, to welcome the energy in you like a Quetzalcoatl. So let's hurry up because I just have like 2-3 minutes. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And when you breathe out, take out all the heavy energy. Take another deep breath. When you breathe out, tune with the rhythm of the universe. Measure movement. Tune with this transition of 6,000 years and with the energy of the La Solteotl, the one that takes what you don't need anymore. Breathe in, breathe out, tune with that energy. And to that energy, just with your breath, give an offering, the good energy of your dreams, thoughts, feelings, and actions. Put your fist in the coccyx and just give the offering because this is the place of ancestors of what we inherit according to the oral tradition from the other sons. So just one hand. No, it was just like bending. So from the first son, lack of honesty. From the second, releasing to pleasures and losing your path in life, surrendering to pleasures. From the third, ego. From the fourth, destructive emotions. From the fifth, injustice, a group dominating other, starting from men, women, and like that. So, okay, breathe in and offer to Tlazolteotl your lack of honesty. Breathe in, breathe out. Surrender to pleasures. Don't having willpower, discipline. Give it, and you will feel something that is going through your body to the right side. Breathe in, breathe out, release. The ego that we receive from the third sun. Breathe in, breathe out, release. The destructive emotions. So everything that is in your body that represents the inheritance of the previous sun is being given to the earth. And the injustice of this sun, all the anger. Let it go. And now let's go to the navel. Offer the block that we have had, like humans, these past thousands of years with the earth and the feminine forces, and any problem of lack of abundance. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe. Allow it to go. Surrender. Give the energy of the past thousands of years. Give it. Now let's go here. Offer the wounds, the lack of power, all the confidence that you lost in the pandemic, the lack of power of your immune system. Breathe in, breathe out. It will sound a little bit weird in the sound because I'm breathing, but I'm really releasing. I'm not pretending. Bad use of the words, the destruction through the word, offer it to the earth. It doesn't stop to the new order. And now, finally, offer all the energy of the previous songs from you, from humankind, in order to clear your energy, like it's going to the to Tlazolteotl, to open you to the new sun. Perfect. Let's go. Normally it's a little bit more of time, but I didn't have the time. So, with your fist in the coccyx, now as Tlazochteotl, the Tlazochtla, to come. Just come, 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 and go to the coccyx. Fill you to the precious essence, to give life to the new life, to the new sun, with including the prophecy of the return of the Quetzalcoatl, or the ones of the precious knowledge. Perfect. Normally it's more time, but let's go to the navel and welcome the reconnection of humankind with the earth. But not only the earth, the moon, the night, the dreams. And open your navel to that. Receive that energy. Tlazochtla, come, come. Now here. Receive the power of the sixth sun, the power of the feminine forces. Opening the constructive power of your world. And now, here receive the energy of your Quetzalcoatl consciousness. And begin changing your energy from a being of the fifth sun to one to the sixth sun. Perfect Ometeotl, that is like the ancient Mexican amen. And thank you, everyone. If you're going to practice this, you can do it many, many days. And I really give you the advice before 26, that actually the transition ends the 24th of November. And thank you for receiving this message that was written in the stars. Anthony Avagnano is the founder of